The breaking point, the grand hall of the Galactic Council, was filled with voices, 1,000 different tones layered into a restless storm. Every species spoke in their own language, yet the translation grids turned the noise into something close to understanding. But there was no peace in the air, only tension. At the center of the hall, 2 banners stood, one of the Empire that had demanded control over new trade routes, and one of Earth, the youngest member of the Council. Humanity had entered this chamber with hope. They had tried to build bridges where others had drawn lines. For years, they believed diplomacy could hold back war. But on this day, the voices of reason were drowned. The Empire's envoy, a tall figure with silver skin and cold eyes, stood before the crowd, his voice echoed like iron striking stone. The humans must surrender their fleets. They must pay tribute if they wish to remain in our space. Gasps moved through the hall. Some species lowered their eyes. They had seen the Empire's wrath before. Planets burned, cities erased. Many remembered what happened when smaller nations resisted. The human envoy, a calm man in a dark suit, stood slowly, his hands resting on the table. His words were simple. Earth will not bow. Silence followed, thick and heavy. Many thought the humans had spoken foolishly, but those who knew Earth understood that they rarely used sharp words unless they were ready for what came next. For months, peace talks had dragged on, endless debates about territory, about resources hidden in distant systems. Humans had tried to compromise, offering deals, sharing technology, even opening trade to weaker species so they would not starve under Empire tariffs. But every offer was met with scorn. The Empire believed Earth's kindness was weakness. They thought humanity was a young species still learning the rules of the stars. They laughed at the simple ships that had first arrived in council space. They mocked the human way of shaking hands, of smiling during negotiations. But humanity had patience, and patience has limits. When the Empire's envoy finished his threats, he turned to the council and declared, "If the humans refuse, then let it be written. Their worlds will burn, their fleets will fall, and their species will serve us as laborers." The hall grew colder. The human envoy did not raise his voice. Yet every word carried. "We came here with open hands, with trust. We offered peace and partnership. And you spit on it. Today you have chosen war. And you will learn why Earth never wished for this path." A ripple of fear moved across the chamber. The Empire laughed. They believed humans could not stand against them. Their fleets stretched across hundreds of systems. Their armies had crushed rebellions for centuries. To them, humanity was just another name to erase. But far away, beyond the chambers of debate, Earth's fleet waited in hidden stations orbiting barren moons, in silent docks carved into asteroids, in the dark edges of space where no council eye had reached. The fleet stood ready. For years humanity had prepared quietly. While speaking peace, they built warships, not like the clumsy freighters other young species used, but ships forged with lessons from Earth's endless history of conflict. They carried speed, armor, and weapons designed not for show, but for survival. The admiral of the fleet had once said, "We pray peace holds, but if it breaks, we will not enter war slowly. We will strike like thunder." Back in the council hall, the Empire's envoy sneered, "Humans have no strength. They only have words." The human envoy gave no reply. He simply picked up his case, bowed to the council, and walked out, his calm steps echoing louder than any argument. Those who watched felt a chill because they had seen something in his eyes. Not fear, not anger, but a quiet decision, the kind that carried the weight of storms. The news spread across the stars in hours. Peace talks failed. Humans rejected Empire demands. Some celebrated. Others prepared for war. Small nations whispered to each other, wondering if Earth would survive. They did not yet know the truth, that the humans were not stepping into war blind. They had seen this moment coming, and they had built their answer in steel and fire. And so, while the Empire boasted, while the Council argued, while the galaxy held its breath, Earth sent a single coded signal across the void. The fleet received it, one word flashing on their screens: unleash. The silent thunder, the Empire believed humans would hesitate. They thought Earth would call another meeting, send another request, or hide behind council votes. But while the Empire spread their ships across human borders, something strange began to happen in the darkness of space. The stars near Earth's colonies flickered with movement. Shadows stretched across them. Whole constellations seemed to bend. The reason was simple. The human fleet had awakened in hidden hangars. Doors larger than cities slid open, revealing warships that had never been seen by alien eyes. They were not elegant like the Empire's cruisers, not carved with shining banners or gold crests. They were raw, sharp, built for function, built for survival. Each hull carried scars of tests in silence. The largest ships were called fortresses, massive carriers with endless rows of launch bays. Their cores pulsed with reactors strong enough to feed entire planets. Surrounding them were destroyers, frigates, and smaller hunter ships, each one armed with weapons no one in the Council knew existed. The Empire's spies had reported human ships as outdated, weak, little more than upgraded freighters. Those spies never returned. They had been shown only what humanity wanted them to see. Now the real fleet moved. Silent, coordinated on board the flagship, the Admiral stood before a wide screen filled with stars. Her voice was calm. "Orders are confirmed. The Council chambers witnessed our refusal. The Empire will march on us, so we strike first. We end their arrogance before it touches our soil." Around her, commanders nodded. There was no fear, only focus. Humans had always known they could never match the Empire in numbers. But numbers alone never decided war throughout history. Earth had faced empires larger than itself, armies greater in size, and yet humans always adapted. They turned desperation into innovation, and weakness into strength. This was no different. The first move was subtle. Human ships appeared near unguarded systems at the edges of Empire territory. They jammed communications, cut supply lines, and vanished before the Empire could react. Reports rushed into the Empire's command stations. Outposts silent, convoys missing, patrols destroyed. At first they dismissed it. They thought it was pirates, but then the scale grew. Entire fleets disappeared into the void. Whole stations erased in hours. The Council gathered again. Nervous whispers spread. One ambassador asked, "Are the humans truly behind this?" Another answered with shaking words. Who else could move so quickly? Who else could strike with such precision? While debates raged, the Empire finally deployed its armadas. Hundreds of ships surged forward, banners glowing in arrogance. They marched toward human space like hunters chasing prey. But what they found waiting was not prey. It was thunder. The first great battle happened near the system of Kalos. The Empire expected resistance to be scattered instead. They faced formations so perfect it seemed as if the stars themselves moved in human rhythm. Human destroyers darted like shadows. Their weapons burned through Empire shields with strange pulses. Technology the Council had never seen. Torpedoes struck in silence, guided by codes no jammer could break. The Empire's commanders shouted in confusion. Their ships were larger, stronger on paper, yet they fell one by one. Their shields torn apart, their engines dead, their crews staring in disbelief in less than an hour. A fleet of 50 Empire cruisers was reduced to wreckage, floating in the cold, their banners dim. The survivors whispered in shock. "How can this be? How can humans fight like this?" But humans did not answer. They only pressed forward in every battle. They fought with something more than strategy, more than weapons. They fought with memory. Earth's history of war, of survival against impossible odds. No simulation could match the instinct of a human pilot. No Empire doctrine could measure the unpredictability of human tactics. In the flagship's war room, the Admiral spoke again. "We asked for peace, they gave us threats. Now we give them truth." And with that, she pointed to the stars ahead. The fleet surged deeper into Empire territory, not slowly, not cautiously, but with the speed of those who had no choice but victory. Across the galaxy, smaller nations listened in fear and awe. The story spread like wildfire. The humans have unleashed their fleet. Some trembled, thinking Earth had doomed itself. Others whispered with hope, believing perhaps the Empire had finally met its match. In council chambers, silence grew heavy. Leaders of weaker worlds leaned closer, whispering words none had dared before. "If the humans can resist, maybe so can we." The balance of power was shifting, and everyone felt it. But the Empire was not done. Their pride was too great, their fleets too vast. They began to call their full armadas, swearing to crush humanity in fire and far away. In the silence of human command, the Admiral simply watched, her eyes calm, her voice steady. "Let them come. For every ship they send, the galaxy will remember. The Empire strikes back." News of the Kalos battle spread faster than light. Wreckage from Empire cruisers drifted across the system like broken monuments. It was the first time in centuries that the Empire had lost so many ships in a single fight. The Empire's High Council erupted in fury. Their warlords shouted for blood. "These humans dare defy us. They will be made an example." One voice after another demanded retribution. Within days, the Empire assembled a force so massive that it shook the galaxy. Entire fleets pulled from distant sectors. Dreadnoughts older than some civilizations, carriers large enough to block suns. They called it the Cleansing Armada. To smaller nations, it looked like the end of Earth, some whispered. No species has ever survived when the Empire sends everything. Others turned away, unwilling to watch another world burn, but humanity was not like others. In the human flagship, silence filled the war room. Commanders studied the incoming reports, one officer muttered. "They bring a storm." The admiral's reply was calm. "Then we become the lightning." When the Empire's cleansing armada entered human borders, they expected fear. They expected humans to scatter. Instead, they found nothing. Systems empty, colonies evacuated, fleets hidden, frustration grew. Empire ships spread wide, searching, hunting, but every time they thought they had cornered the humans, the trap reversed in one system. A squadron of Empire carriers entered orbit around what they thought was a deserted planet. Suddenly, the surface lit up, hidden launch bays opening, missiles screaming into the sky. In minutes, the carriers were crippled, their burning remains falling into the planet's gravity in another sector. Empire dreadnoughts pursued small human ships into an asteroid field. They believed the humans were fleeing, but the asteroids moved, shifted. Powered by hidden engines, entire rocks became weapons, smashing through the dreadnoughts until their shields shattered everywhere the Empire looked. Humans were not running. They were guiding. Shaping the battlefield like it was their own home, the Empire commanders grew desperate. They ordered all fleets to converge near the system of Aerith, believing they could finally crush the humans in open battle. And that was when humanity revealed their most dangerous weapon as the Empire Armada entered Aerith space. Sensors picked up strange signals, thousands of small objects drifting. At first, they thought it was debris, but then the objects moved, faster and faster, forming patterns. They were drones, countless in number, each carrying weapons, each controlled by human ships from afar. The Empire laughed, thinking drones were weak. But these were not simple machines. They swarmed in formations, weaving like living storms, striking at engines, tearing apart shields, overwhelming even the largest ships. An Empire captain screamed over comms. "This is impossible. They move like hunters, not machines." But there was no answer. Only silence broken by the sound of ships tearing apart. In the human flagship, the admiral stood steady. "Let them feel the weight of our preparation. Every war humanity ever fought taught us to adapt. We learned from each wound, each loss, and we built this fleet for the day peace would fail." The Battle of Aerith lasted only 6 hours. When it ended, nearly a third of the cleansing armada was gone. Wreckage scattered like black snow, the Empire's pride shattered with it. Across the galaxy, whispers turned into open talk. Weaker nations sent secret messages to Earth, offering alliance, offering supplies. They saw what no one believed possible. The Empire bleeding, but victory came at a cost. Many human ships were damaged, crews exhausted. Fuel and ammunition stretched thin. In the quiet after the battle, a commander asked, "How long can we keep this up?" The admiral answered without hesitation, "As long as it takes, we do not fight only for Earth. We fight for every world that has ever bowed in silence." The word spread among the fleet, lifting tired hearts, giving strength where there was none. And far away in the Empire's throne city, their rulers sat in dark silence. For the first time in centuries, fear touched them. They realized humanity was not another species to crush. Humanity was a storm they could not control. The gamble of humanity. The Empire had never tasted such humiliation. The cleansing armada, their pride, their symbol of domination, had been shattered by a species they once called children in the throne city. Anger replaced fear. The Empire's rulers summoned their warlords and demanded escalation. Burn their colonies, erase their history. Break them so no one dares follow their path, orders spread. Fleets twice the size of the cleansing armada began to gather. Factories forged new war machines day and night. The Empire swore the galaxy would see humanity crushed in fire. But humanity understood something deeper. They knew the Empire's strength was not just in numbers. It was in fear, the fear that kept smaller nations silent, the fear that silenced rebellions before they began. If that fear broke, the Empire itself would fracture. In the human flagship, the Admiral stood over a wide star map. Her commanders surrounded her, each system glowing with either human blue or Empire red. She spoke calmly. "If we only defend, we will be buried. We must strike where they believe themselves untouchable." A young officer hesitated. "You mean their throne city?" The room fell silent. The idea was madness. No fleet had ever reached the Empire's core. It was protected by walls of ships, by fortresses built into suns, by weapons older than most species. But the Admiral's eyes did not waver. To end this war, the galaxy must see the Empire bleed in its heart. The plan that followed was bold, reckless, the kind of gamble only humans would dare. They would not attack the throne city with the whole fleet. That would be suicide. Instead, they would strike with shadows. Special forces trained for the impossible. Warships designed to move unseen, weapons carried in silence. While the main fleet held the Empire's attention on the borders, a smaller task force would slip through forgotten routes, ancient wormholes mapped by human explorers long before the war, paths the Empire believed dead for days. The human fleet fought like a shield, standing against wave after wave. Battles burned across the stars, each clash costing lives, yet holding the Empire in place. Meanwhile, in the dark, the strike force moved, their ships coated with systems that bent light, their engines silent. They drifted like ghosts between suns, unseen, unnoticed. Inside those ships, soldiers prepared, each one carrying the weight of history, one whispered. "We may not return," another answered. "But if we succeed, the galaxy will never forget us." As they closed in, the throne city appeared, a world of light and steel, rings of fortresses surrounding it. Endless fleets standing guard, weapons glowing across space. It was said no enemy ship had ever seen it and lived. The humans looked upon it without fear. Their orders were clear. The Admiral's voice reached them through encrypted comms, steady and calm. "Remember, this is not about destruction alone, it is about truth. Show the Empire that even their heart can be touched." And then, the strike began. Drones slipped ahead, disguised as debris. They drifted close to Empire stations and detonated in silence. Shields flickered, gaps opened, the human ships surged through, small compared to the Empire fortresses. But moving like daggers, their weapons targeted not fleets, but infrastructure, communication hubs, power cores, command centers. Within minutes, chaos spread through the throne system. Alarms howled. Commanders shouted in confusion. How did they get here? How is this possible? For the first time in its long history, the Empire's capital felt fire in its skies. Towers shook, fortresses burned, citizens looked up in shock, seeing streaks of light cutting through their false safety. The human strike force did not stay long. They knew they could not hold, but they left a message written in flame, and when they escaped back into the dark, they broadcast a signal across the galaxy. Footage of the Empire's throne world burning, their untouchable core pierced. The message ended with words spoken by the Admiral herself. "Calm, unshaken, we asked for peace. They answered with war. Now let the galaxy see they are not gods. They are only tyrants, and tyrants can fall." The signal spread faster than fleets, faster than fear, on countless worlds. Slaves raised their heads, rebels whispered, leaders once silent now spoke. The Empire's fear was broken, but in their throne city, the rulers burning with rage made one final vow: if humanity wants war, then war will consume the stars. The greatest storm was yet to come. The last stand. The Empire's throne world still burned in memory. The images of fire above their sacred city spread across every corner of the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the Empire had been wounded, not at its edges but at its heart, and with that wound came fury. The Empire gathered what they called the Judgment Fleet. Every remaining dreadnought, every carrier, every weapon they could forge, an armada so vast it stretched across entire systems. They swore this fleet would erase Earth itself from the stars. To many, it looked like the end. Smaller nations sent prayers, others hid in silence. But some sent secret aid to Earth, fuel, data, even ships. They saw in humanity a chance they had never dared to believe in. In the human flagship, the admiral stood before her weary commanders. The fleet battered but unbroken, her voice steady. This will be their final storm if we survive it. The Empire will never rise again if we fall. At least the galaxy will know we did not bow. The plan was desperate. Earth's fleet could not match the Empire ship for ship. But they did not need to. They only needed to break the Empire's will. And so humanity prepared their trap. In the system of Valros, near a dying star, humans had hidden weapons never revealed. Stations built inside asteroids, war satellites cloaked in shadows, whole minefields drifting like dust. It was a battlefield chosen with care. The Judgment Fleet arrived with banners blazing, commanders confident, their voices filled with hate. "Erase them! Burn their world! Let no trace remain!" The battle began like thunder. Empire dreadnoughts unleashed waves of fire, their cannons tearing space apart. Human ships danced between blasts, smaller, faster. Moving with instinct, machines could not match. Then the traps awakened, asteroids lit up with human weapons, beams cutting through shields, mines exploding in perfect timing, satellites firing from behind. The Empire's formation broke, confusion spreading, but the Empire pressed forward. Their numbers endless, for every ship destroyed. More arrived. Human losses grew, wreckage of blue banners drifted across the void. In the flagship, a commander cried, "We cannot hold them!" The admiral's eyes hardened. "Then we do not hold. We strike where it hurts most." She gave the order, and the fleet shifted. No longer fighting to survive, but fighting to pierce. Their ships cut through the chaos, aiming not at the Empire's vast numbers, but at their command vessels. Human pilots gave their lives in reckless maneuvers, ramming engines into enemy cruisers, detonating warheads at point-blank range, each sacrifice opening the path, and then the flagship reached the Empire's command dreadnought. A vessel larger than cities, its core glowing with the arrogance of centuries, the admiral stood on her bridge, the enemy looming before her. "All power to weapons," she said, her voice calm. "Today we show the galaxy what it means to be human." The human fleet unleashed everything. Drones swarmed like storms, torpedoes struck in waves, beams carved through armor. The Empire dreadnought shook, shields collapsing, its commanders shouting in disbelief. In the final moment, the admiral gave one last command. "Ignite the star." Hidden charges placed in the dying star of Valros activated. The sun itself trembled, its unstable core tearing apart. A supernova born by human hands. Both fleets were caught in the blaze, ships swallowed by light. The Empire's Judgment Fleet ripped apart. Their dreadnoughts erased, their pride turned to dust. The human fleet, too, suffered. Many ships gone, heroes lost. But the flagship, though burning, survived, carried out of the fire by sheer will. When the light faded, silence filled the galaxy. The Empire's greatest force was no more. Their rulers, once untouchable, now faced a truth they could not hide. Their fleets shattered, their control broken, their fear gone. Smaller nations rose, rebellions ignited. Worlds once enslaved raised banners of freedom, and at the center of it all was Earth. Scarred but unyielding, the admiral, weary yet standing, sent the final broadcast, her voice carried to every world. "We asked for peace. They chose war. We fought not only for Earth, but for every world chained by fear. Today the chains are broken, the Empire has fallen, and humanity stands, not as rulers, but as proof that no tyrant is eternal." The words echoed across the stars, and for the first time in living memory, the galaxy knew hope. Humanity had unleashed their fleet, and in doing so, they had reshaped the future of the universe forever.